Hello, everyone, and welcome to another session of our past paper solution series for the Cambridge O Levels English Language 1123. So, the past paper that we are going to work in this video is from the October-November exam series of the year 2024. So, let's begin. As we all are well aware that when we are going to sit for our paper number one, so we will be given with two particular sort of document. Number one, insert, which is being shown on my screen. This insert will contain two texts, text A and text B. While we will be reading text A, we are required to answer question number one and question number two. This is what the comprehension sort of thing is. Then we will be having passage B, the text B, and this is basically aligned with the section B of our paper, the question paper, which is summary writing task and short response question. The other document that we will be handed over is the question paper, which will look like this. So, the first and the foremost thing that you are supposed to do is to fill it up. You are supposed to provide your candidate name here. You have to write your center number accurately as per your statement of entry and the candidate number. This black spot basically means the particular area which is going to be scanned. For your checkers, your answer sheets have not been handed over in a physical state. Once you're done with your papers, your paper have been signed for the scanning purpose and the whole entire paper is not being scanned. Only few parts of the papers are scanned, and from the exam series of the 2024, they have started to highlight with these sort of black boxes. So be well aware that wherever the boxes are appearing or these sort of signs are appearing, so that means that this is the only area which is going to be scanned. So your answer should not be out of this area. So let's begin with solving the paper. The insert contain two passage, text A, Puma, and from this text A, we are supposed to cater question number one and question number two of our paper one. As with the protocols of the exams, these texts are usually taken from a longer pieces of the novel, and most of the time, few books that we might have read or the few books that we might have not read. So, with any sort of text the examiner has selected, they give you a particular sort of introduction. So, similarly, the introduction is given over here as well. The text A is Puma, and this text is about a lady named Laura. So the introduction says that Laura is backpacking in South America for 3 months and have volunteered to work in an animal sanctuary. The sanctuary rescues monkeys, birds, and the wildcats, such as pumas and the jaguars, and bring them back to health. So the introduction is telling us that this text is about a lady whose name is Laura, and she's traveling to the South America with her backpack for 3 months, where she's going to help as a volunteer in an animal center. The center where she's going to volunteer is basically saving hurt or the sick animals like monkeys, birds, big white cats, for example, pumas and jaguars, and help them to get better. And as soon as the animals are going to get back to their proper health, they are going to be sent free into the natural environment. So the strategy that we are going to do is scanning. Scanning involves in thorough reading of the whole entire text. As you can see, the first paragraph is of only 2 lines. So we can adopt another effective strategy. We can read one particular sort of paragraph and we can look into the question and we can solve it side by side. This strategy might help you to save your time as well. Okay, so before proceeding to read the paragraph, make sure to have a look at the question, just in case the focus of the question can be highlighted. So the question paper is here. And the question number one, which is taken from paragraph number one, says that what evidence is there that Laura knew very little about the white cats before she arrived at the sanctuary? So let's read the text. The text says that I'm 24 years old from England. I don't know what monkeys can make jokes or be depressed. I don't even know what a puma looks like. So the narrator is basically describing herself that she is 24 years old and she is coming from a country in the UK, England, basically. Uh, and she has never realized that some clever animals can play tricks on each other, even on humans, or feel very sad, just like the humans sometimes. So she also mentions that she has no idea what a large mountain cat looks like because she had never seen a large mountain cat before. So the ending of this paragraph, what a puma looks like, is a clue for the answer of question number A. The question is that in paragraph number no, sorry, in paragraph number 1, what evidence is there that the Laura knew very little about wildcats before she arrived at the sanctuary? So here, the narrator has explicitly mentioned that I don't even know what a puma looks like. So we can write our answer here. That she admits she doesn't even know how or what a puma looks like. As this is a one marker question, so this sort of detail is quite very sufficient enough. The beginning of the question was in paragraph number 1, which has made us to realize that this is an explicit question. So in question number 1, we are basically assessed on the basis of our explicit and the implicit skills. Explicit are the details which has been clearly mentioned by the author in the text, whereas the implicit are the details which has been presented in a sort of the clue in the given text, right? With our examiner point of view, if the question requires you to quote one particular sort of thing which has already been mentioned in the text, so that means the question isn't explicit. And in order to answer that question, if a candidate is lifting a text directly from the original one, so this strategy is acceptable, you will be awarded with the marks. Your answer will not be considered wrong. However, if a question requires you to imply something, like for example, the author has stated some sort of logics or the author has given some sort of clue, but what author is thinking exactly at the moment has not been mentioned. So we have to make a reference that the clues which has been presented, what they are leading us to. And for these questions, if we are lifting the original text, like if we are using the same exact text, so our answers would not be accepted because the implicit question require us to use our own wording, right? So before moving forward to our next paragraph, let's see what the question number B says. So question B says that using your own words, explain what Laura means when she describes the bus journey as rumbling along a rickety bus. So for this question, we can clearly see that one phrase has been given, rumbling along a rickety bus. So that means that this phrase has been utilized somewhere in line number 3. The thing which we require to pay a very close attention are the instructions mentioned in the question. The beginning of the question has clearly stated using your own words. So, if we talk about from the examiner point of view and especially from the checker point of view, if these sort of instructions has been conveyed in the question and as a candidate we have not followed it, so our answer will not be entertained, our answer will not be considered correct. It's a 2 marker question. However, if we have given the same exact text from the original one. So technically, we are not expressing it in our own words, whereas the examiner is aiming to assess us on the basis of using our own words, right? So we have to be very vigilant that whatever the instructions has been conveyed in the question, in the form of the words or in the form of the phrases, we are following all the instruction in our answer. So let's go back to line number 3 and see what particular sort of details are there. So line number 3 is basically is in paragraph number 2. So paragraph number 2 says that we have been rumbling along a rickety bus for 5 bruising hours. The bus stops. I rub the grimy window. Squinting through the streaks in the condensation, I see only jungle. The woman next to me reluctantly hauls her child off my lap. I scramble over other passengers, chickens, and sacks of rice towards the exit. Seriously, I can't keep my voice steady. Yes, confirms the driver. Then I'm standing by myself on an empty road, watching the bus lights fade. So here the narrator is saying that they have been traveling for a good 5 long hours in an old, shaky vehicle, which made the journey very uncomfortable. So when it finally pauses, halts, or stops, she wiped the dirty glass, and through the foggy marks on the glass, she tried very hard to look outside. But the only thing she was able to see is the thick forest. So there was a lady sitting beside her, and the lady which was sitting beside her slowly tried to lift her child from her legs, and the narrator pushed her way past the crowd, along with the animals and the bags filled with grain, to reach towards the doorway of the vehicle. And as soon as she looked outside from the doorway of the vehicle, her expressions were seriously like, "Are you serious?" She tried to ask, and her voice might be shaking because she couldn't believe what exactly is going to happen or where she is standing. So the reply that she received was in affirmative state, yes, and that was basically from the driver of the vehicle. Few moments later, she finds herself standing alone in a very deserted path, watching the lights of the vehicle, the bus, slowly, gradually disappearing into the distance. So, this is what being stated in this paragraph number 2. As far as our question is concerned, so in the question we have been given with one phrase, and the phrase was rumbling along the rickety bus. So let's find out the phrase. It was in line number 2. This is line number 1, 2, and 3. In a rickety bus for 5 bruising hours. So this is the phrase which is given. A rickety bus. So in the question, we are supposed to answer by using our own words. The usage of the word rickety, it's basically giving us an expression that the journey she has had was not comfortable. We have been rumbling along in a rickety bus for 5 bruising hours. This means that during the way, she might have encountered very unmaintained roads, or the condition of the bus might have been the main reason to cause the journey very uncomfortable, right? So we are supposed to answer our question in our own words. So before proceeding towards writing the answer, I would like to repeat the instructions that I conveyed at the beginning of the discussion of this question, that this question clearly asks us to use our own words. So whenever we have been asked to use our own words, so the best strategy that we can do is to replace the keywords with their synonym. And the keywords in the phrase are rickety and rumbling. So, in order to rephrase them, it is necessary that we should have at least an idea of what these words really mean for. So both of these words in the context are basically used to describe uh, some sort of old, unsteady, or noisy objects. As far as the word rumbling is concerned, so rumbling is basically a continuous, very low pitched, but deep and resonant sound. And as far as the actual meaning of the rictus are concerned, so uh, it is some sort of unsteady or shaky, or you can say weak, likely to be collapse or break, like something which is standing in front of you is looking like very old, and it make you feel like as soon as you're going to step into it or you're going to use it, so it's going to be broken down into the original pieces. So this is both of these words are over here are basically used to describe the old structure of the bus. So as we are supposed to answer by using our own words, so that means we are not going to use the word rumbling and repeat again. So I can, or we can write an answer that she means that the bus was shaking noisily and felt old or unsafe. Okay, so this was technically a two marker question, and there were two details which were supposed to be converted in your own wording. One was about the rumbling, and the other one above was about the ricti. Although both of these adjectives have been used together to describe the that how old the bus was, but in our own words, we were supposed to talk about both. For example, if you have just answered in a way that she means that the bus was shaking noisily, or if you have just simply written the answer that the bus was very old, so your answer is not a good answer to score 2 out of 2. You will be given 1 because you have missed the meaning of the word ricti stand for, right? So the one thing which was being expressed over here, the structure of the bus, that was quite very shaky, very old, and it was continuously producing some sort of noises. So it gives a sense that traveling through the bus might have been very unsafe. We have to make sure that whatever the explanation we are providing, it is accurate, up to the mark, concise, and clear. Most importantly, clear. Half sentences in a sort of phrases are not acceptable until unless they are not giving a very clear understanding of what you want to say. Moving on to the next question. Question number 1, part C. Part C says that from paragraph number 2, identify 2 reasons why it was difficult for Laura to see through the bus window. So it again says from paragraph number 2 and then identify 2. That means that this is also an explicit question and the examiner is expecting you to pick up the details from the given text. So far as we had already discussed paragraph number 2, so let's quickly go and see that how what are the particular words or the phrases which might be a clue. Okay, so the first clue that we can say, the bus stop, it is not giving any particular sort of understanding about the question. So the next line, I rub the grimy window. This is a clue. Squinting through the streaks of the condensation, I only see jungle. This is another clue. Like as soon as she tries or she tried to look out of the window, she was unable to look because it was covered with fog. And the only thing that she was able to see was a deep forest. A very important keyword which is being used here in the sentence is streak and condensation. So it is basically pronounced as a condensation streak, right? So what is it? So condensation streaks are a sort of watermarks, or you can say stains, which are left on the surface like walls, windows, or the mirror when they become warm or moist air hits them and they try to be cooled down. and they release the vapors or sort of droplets, which basically then run down to the gravity, sometimes carrying minerals or the dirt. It caused streaks and potentially leading to the mold it left untreated, especially in poorly ventilated areas or some sort of things which has not been taken care of very properly. In very simple words, the impression the author want to give over here that the window was very dirty and it was covered with a lot of mold, a lot of patches, so many things has been stick up to it, right? So, in order to answer our question, we are supposed to provide two details. As you can clearly see, that you have been given with the bullet point. So that means for these sort of questions where you are required to give evidences or the details or any particular thing like an evidence, you can write in the bullet points. A proper sentence structure can be used, or half sentence structure or a fragment sort of sentence is acceptable if it's giving a very clear meaning. So, if I say the first point as the window was dirty, the window was dirty, this would be good to go. And another thing, uh, like for example, if the dirt is stuck on something and if you clean, so you might be able to see through that thing. But the window also contain few patches. The phrase, the condensation streak. So we can use the other detail, the same one, that the window was covered with condensation streaks. Condensation streak. As I just did my spelling error, but as I was typing, so I had been able to correct it. From the exam point of view, for your reading paper, if you have committed any sort of spelling error, so now how many marks are going to be deducted? For your reading paper, for your spelling errors, your marks are not deducted because you are not being assessed on it, on the basis of it. But if the spelling is totally wrong, the spelling of a word is not giving any sense with reference to the context of the question or the answer, then your marks are going to be deducted. Okay, so let's move on to the next part of question number one, which is part D. And here we have been asked to explain what Laura is thinking when she asked the driver seriously. Line 7. So this question is also from the same paragraph that we had been discussing. Seriously, I can't keep my voice steady. So this is very easy question. The impression is quite very clear. Like just put yourself into the shoe of Laura. You are traveling through a bus, and you have been unable to recognize from where you are traveling. The journey has been quite very uncomfortable, and as soon as you reached and you have been asked to step outside of the bus, so the only thing which you are able to see is something not to your expectation. So this is how your impression might be. Seriously. So we can say that the impression which is being created over here about the Laura, or what she had been expecting or what she had not been expecting, is that she was expecting something else, that how an animal sensory may look like, or what she has seen is totally against to what she had been expecting. So in order to write our answer, we can say she couldn't believe or on her eyes. But in this sentence, our meaning is not being clear. She couldn't believe in on her eyes. But what she was unable to believe, what was in front of her. So that means we need to rephrase our answer. So we can say she she was shocked to look what was in front of her eyes. Here, the sentence is making a bit sense that the things which were in front of her was not she was expecting. So she was shocked, right? Now, moving on to the next part, which is part A. And it says that in paragraph number 3, how does Laura feel about being in jungle when she first arrives? Give two details from the text to support your answer. The total marks for this question are 3, and as you can clearly see that one line is given for the feeling and then few lines are given for the details. This means we are supposed to write one feeling and we have to give two details which make us to understand this is how the character feel. For these sort of question, you have to make sure that your answer is well concise, coherent, and making a very proper connection with what feeling you have stated. For example, if you have stated the feeling happy, but the details which you have mentioned are not making any sense to any happiness, so you will be given 1 mark out of 3. The other scenario is that if in case you have given the two correct details for one accurate feeling, but the feeling that you have mentioned is wrong, so you will be marked on the basis of the details. You can get 2 marks out of 3, and your 1 mark will be deducted because you have been unable to state the correct feeling. So for this, we need to go back to paragraph number 3. And here is our paragraph number 3. The paragraph number 3 says, a soft haze makes the thin, broken tarmac float like water. Leaves of every shade melt into looming vastness. All trees overhang the banks. I struggle to breathe. It smells hot. The jungle hums, speaking no language I have heard before. I wave my arms wildly at the mosquitoes buzzing around my ears, whimpering, spinning on the spot. The jungle is everywhere. So here the narrator is basically giving a description of what she has been able to see. The things that she encounter, a light mist which makes the damaged road looks like that if it is moving just like a river. There were plants in many tones and blend together and stretch into the great height with giant trunks leaning over the sides. The narrator found it very hard to get enough air because everything feels very hot and heavy. Even the forest itself makes a constant sound which do not match anything that she had ever heard or seen before. She tried to flap her hands around her head to chase away the tiny biting insects, the mosquitoes, which kept circling around her. So she let out small frightened noises as she turned around in confusion. The only thing that welcomed her was the thick wilderness, and she realized that she has been surrounded completely by the forest. So, as far as the structure of the question is concerned, so we are supposed to take out one feeling from this paragraph and we are supposed to give two details for the feeling. Remember, sometimes you may feel like that this is accurate feeling given over here in the text, but if you look for the details, so you will not be able to find sufficient details. So you have to make sure that the feeling that you're going to pick up is having two details. Okay, so if I just look at this phrase, I struggle to breathe. Let me just highlight it for you. And I wave my arms wildly. So both of these phrases are basically the details for one feeling. Struggle to breathe or wave my arms wildly. It's giving you a sense for you to understand that she was scared. When you are scared, your breathing pattern changes, and you try to save yourself and you do some random actions, right? So we can clearly say that she was afraid or she was frightened. And the two details we can copy out same exactly. Now the thing is if in case rather than using the proper sentence structure for quoting the feeling, you have just named the feeling. For example, if I have just written frightened, would that be acceptable? Yes, that would be acceptable. And for the details, you can copy the same exact things from the text. Moving on to the next part of question number 1, F, which says that identify two things the monkey does to make Laura think that he is challenging her. Line number 15. So far, the text of the passage that we have read, where we have not received any details about the monkeys. So let's go back to the text and see what is being stated in next paragraph, which is paragraph number 4. So here is our paragraph number 4, which says that as I turn, I see a monkey sitting on the signpost. I yelp to leap back. The signpost says, "No monkeys on the board." He just stares, challenging me. Yeah. So, what are you going to do about it? I'm not going to do anything. I'm on my way. I am on my own in the jungle. I think I may faint. So, with the instructions given in the question, we are supposed to consult to line number 15, and this is line number 15. Monkey is on the board, he just stares, challenging me. Yeah, sir, what are you going to do about it? This is line number 15. Over here, I would like to highlight a very common mistake which is done by the candidate side. Like since the arrival of this new syllabus, most of the candidates have come up with this sort of understanding that the mentioning of the line number in the question says that the answer is hidden in the same exact line. For few stances, this understanding is fine, acceptable. Yes, sometimes it happens that the answer has been clearly stated in the same exact line which is mentioned in the question, but most of the time it is not. Sometimes the line which is given in the question is just a clue from where the event started to unfold, which is being asked in the question. So, whenever you have been given with the reference to the line, so you have to make sure that if the line has not been sufficient enough to give you a very clear picture, so you need to go back and you need to reread the line again, and even the lines before to it or after to it, to make a proper sense. There is no particular sort of authenticity prescribed from the examiner side or mentioned somewhere in your SOWs or somewhere in your syllabus that the line numbers is always going to state the answer. So as you can see that this line, monkey is on the road, this sentence is not making any sense. He just stares, challenging me. So yes, the phrase is here, challenging me. So this is giving us a sense. So what are you going to do? But still, no particular sort of detail has been mentioned. So the paragraph is basically saying, or over here, the narrator is narrating that as soon as she turned around, she notices a very small creature sitting on a wooden pole with a signboard attached. And she screamed in surprise and quickly jumped backwards. The board has a message which was that these animals to stay away from the pathway, the animal which was sitting right upside of the signpost. But that little creature, the monkey, simply looks at the narrator as if the monkey is daring her to react, like saying, "Really, what can you do now? I'm sitting over here, I'm at all my own. Who's going to stop me?" So the narrator was completely overwhelmed and she thought that she might collapse. That is also an understanding that she is going to encounter so many things which she has never done in her life before, right? So over here the author has basically tried to create a sort of sarcasm. So now moving back to the sentence, line number 15, two things, that means two details, can be extracted same or copied from the same exact text. So the details which has been mentioned over here are he just stares and challenging me. So we can copy the same exact details here. He just stares and or if we go back to the text in the context, challenging me is basically is in continuation to just stairs. What are you going to do about it? This is making a more strong sense as a second detail. So we can use it here. What are you going to do about it? As the question was explicit and we were required to use the details from the text, and if we have lifted the same exact word, so yes, it is acceptable. We will be awarded 2 out of 2. Moving on to the next part of question number 1, part G. This part contains 2 questions. Remember, for this sort of structure, your questions are aligned together. They are usually constructed from the same exact scenario. So it's basically from paragraph number 5, which we have not read yet. So before proceeding towards reading the paragraph number 5, let's see what is question asking us. So the question is asking us that in paragraph number 5, when a huge black boar suddenly appears, Laura notices something surprising about her. What is surprising about the boar? And the second part, why does the boar run away from the man? So both of these details we are going to find from the text. And here is our paragraph number 5. Over the jungle hum, I hear a thundering. A huge black boar suddenly catapults out of undergrowth. She raises her hat, a red sock claps between her teeth, looking eyes with me. I am about to run when a man burst out after her, pulling twigs and leaves from his hair. Rita, the boar spins and hurtles away with her prize. So here the narrator is saying that over the constant background noises of the forest, she suddenly heard a very loud pounding sound. And out of nowhere, a very large, dark, wild pig shoots out from the thick bushes. She lifts her hat, holding a very bright red piece of the cloth in her mouth, and stares straight at the narrator. The narrator just about to escape when a person jumps out of the plants behind her, brushing off small branches and greenery from his hair. The person shouts Rita, and the animal twirls around and dashes off very quickly, still carrying her stolen item. So there was a wild pig, which are basically known as the boar. So she was holding a red socks. So, for the first question, we are supposed to talk about one thing which was very surprising, and that was basically, you can say, is something which for Laura was quite very unreal. So, the wild pig was basically holding a red sock in her teeth. It was a female pig. So, she might have never seen it, this sort of situation before. So, we can write down this thing over here. The boar is surprisingly holding a red sock in her mouth. So the second part, why does the boar run away from the man? This basically has not been stated. So that means K, one part of this question is explicit and the other part is implicit. This we have to, over here we have to make an inference, we have to make our understanding to answer our question effectively. Okay, so if we go back to the text and if we look at the scenario that a man is behind, a boar is running, and a boar is holding a red sock, and as soon as the man shout, the boar stop, turn around, and get back to the man. So the thing, the reason which made the boar run away from the man can be that the boar is in a sort of playing mode, or the situation that has been given over here, that a man, first the boar appeared in the scene and then the man, so that means that the man was chasing the boar. Usually at the animal sanctuaries these sort of things are quite very common, like the veterinary doctors, as soon as they mingle with the animals and they go and to feed them, or the animals have been taken out of their cage, so they are in a very sort of playful mode, right? So we can say our answer: the man is chasing her, or the man was chasing her. In this way, we would be able to get 1 out of 1. Now, moving on to the last part of our question number 1, which is H. And this question requires us to explain by using our own words about Laura's different feelings about working at the animal sanctuary in the South America. And we are supposed to give 3 details. And this is a 3-marker question. So far, we have not read the whole entire text. So you can keep this question for the end once you are done with with reading the whole entire text. Let's move on to question number 2 and see that if any particular question has been asked from the same specific details that we have read. So the first part of question number 2 is basically from 2A, is from line number 47 till 50, which we have not read. Then the other one is from 50 to 51, which we have not read. So that means now we are supposed to read the remaining part of the text. So here is the text. Paragraph number 6 says that I am the vet there. The man explains as if random foreigners turn up here regularly to be greeted by such creatures. I don't turn up in places like this. Backpacking was meant to giving me the perspective I needed after quitting my job. I plan to return transformed, a person who makes good decisions and know what she wants to do with her life. I would pick up a leaflet for the sanctuary with a cheerful looking monkey on it. It said look volunteers. They took volunteers for no reasons other than desperate lack of purpose. I am here. I don't know anything about this place. Just that there are monkeys and they are supposed to look cheerful. So the in this paragraph, the man she encountered tells the Laura that he is an animal doctor and he's working here, speaking as though strangers from the other countries, as soon as they arrive in this wild area, all the time meet the unusual animals. But the speaker, the person, the doctor, don't usually travel to remote places like this all. So my whole trip was supposed to be help think clearly about my life after leaving my job. I wanted to go back home as a changed person, someone who makes sensible choices and understand her goals. So one day I saw a small brochure with the smiling animals on the front. It mentioned that the center accepts helpers. So with no real directions in my life, and holding better to do, I decided to come. I actually know nothing about this organization. All I understand is that they have certain animals here, and in the pictures, they seem happy. So, after hearing the all details from the veterinary doctor, Laura somehow felt a sense of relief, because Laura is also a very new person who has never been to such sort of places, and she herself has no particular idea what the place looked like. Similarly, the vet, as soon as arrived at the sanctuary, had no idea at all. Moving on to paragraph number 7, Laura. I turn. A woman is approaching along the road. I am Mila. I am in charge. She talks. I follow her. We look after monkeys, boars, cats. I stop her. Cats? Yes, we have 16 jaguars and pumas. I stare at her dumbly. Right. Not house cats. Then I have a puma you can walk with. A puma? She nods. But you must commit to 1 month minimum. She hesitates, staring at me hard. I barely hear anything after the word puma. I'm not quite sure what a puma is. I think it must be a large, wild, and powerful. I'm not sure if I am the sort of person she wants. This puma is called Vira. A puma? Me? I find that I'm nodding, dazed, but Mira's smile when she sees me nodding intriguingly contagious. So, meanwhile, she was busy in the discussion with the veterinary doctor. She heard another voice. Someone calls the narrator, a narrator's name, and when she turned around, she saw a woman walking towards her on the path. The woman introduces herself as Mila and she says that she's the person who manages everything here. She begins describing the creatures they care for, and as the narrator walks beside her as she talks. So when she mentions about the cat, the in charge, when she mentions about the cats, the narrator interrupted her because she was confused. Then in charge explains that they have 16 large wild hunters. The kind that spotted or sandy coats, not small pets people usually keep at home. The in charge also tells the narrator that she even has one of these powerful animals that the narrator herself can help with. So the narrator repeated the name in shock, not sure that she had heard correctly. So the in charge confirms that with a note. Then she adds that if the narrator wants to help, so she must stay for at least a month. Then she pauses and looks at the narrator very seriously as checking if she could really handle it or not. So after she says the name of the big creature, the narrator barely focuses on anything else. She mentions about her feeling over here that I don't really know exactly what the animal is, but I might imagine that it must be strong, untamed, powerful hunter. I begin to doubt whatever I am, the kind of the person is she looking for or really not. So she tells me that she particularly wants a creature to be looked after whose name was Vira, a puma basically. That same creature. And the narrator, before she even realized it, she got agreed with a very slow, shocked note. And Mira notices her note and gives her a very bright, excited smile. And her happiness spreads to me as well, making the narrator feels strangely encouraged. So, for your question number one, the answer which you stated, there is an evidence that your answer is correct. What is it? In the paragraph number 8, I'm not quite sure what a puma is. So, for our question number 1, we have stated the answer. Question number 1, part A, we stated the answer that she admits that she does not even know how a puma look like. So, we can get a sense of relief that our answer is correct. Okay. Moving forward to our question number 2, line number 47 to 50. Uh, so far, we have read till line number 40. Now, let's move on to paragraph number 9, 10, and onwards. Paragraph number 9 is that early next morning, Mila says, let's walk Vaira, as if she worried I might change my mind. She's right. You walk pumas outside the cages or ropes. I'm trying to look unfurled, and that's what we are going to do now. Vaira is a wild animal. Mila explains. We get her out of her cage for some kind of freedom. I nod rapidly. What I have understood, we were working with rescued animals that can never be released again. I would probably feel more sad about this if there wasn't one huge question pounding my brain. I whisper to Mila, who doesn't answer at first. Maybe? She finally says, but we each have to decide whether we think these animals are worth it. So, in this paragraph, by the next morning, Mila tells the narrator that let's take Vaira out for the walk, as though she fears that I might back out. And honestly, the narrator was about to. She's right to worry. I ask her, trying to sound calm, you have taken these big animals outside of their enclosures using some sort of straps or something, precautionary measures, sort of things. And what's we are about to do now. So Mila further explains that the Vaira is not a tame creature. They let her out for her enclosure so she can have a small sense of freedom. So the narrator nodded very quickly, from where I understand that the center looks after the creatures that have been saved but can never return to the wild. Normally, this would make me feel very emotional, but right now, one huge worry is repeating in my mind. I quietly ask Mila that worry. She doesn't respond at first. After a moment, she says it's possible, but every one of us must decide for ourselves whether these creatures are worth the risks or not. So, one thing about the sanctuary that she realized, or she changed her mind, that before coming to the animal sanctuary, she was with the understanding that the sanctuary is basically working with the animals who have not been able to do well in the wild. They usually rescue them, and as soon as the animal heals, or one animal heals, so they send back home. But as soon as the Miller mentioned that she is not a tame creature, that means when they are going to take out the animals for the walk, so they send them outside of their cages so that they can have a little sense of freedom. But in few cases, animals got some sort of severe injuries, and leaving them back to the wild is quite very risky, because if you're going to keep an animal in captivity, a wild animal in captivity, so that means technically you are taking away that animal out of their or his or her natural habitat, and the habitat that you are going to provide is all artificial. So animals get used to of getting artificial environment where they don't have to do anything to get their food at the particular times. Food arrive to their enclosures, they eat it very warmly and happily, and they became very habitual of these sort of habits. So if you are going to leave such sort of animals back, sometimes they usually do not being adopted by the environment, by the other creatures, or they fail to find their own food. So this was the confusion in her mind. So upon asking, this confusion was being cleared at, as well, that there are few particular stances where we can send animals back to the forest, but all of the veterinary group has to get agree for it. Paragraph number 10 says that I don't what exactly I expected. Light dapples the cage's mud floor, but mostly it's in shade. Vira's hard to spot, smaller than I imagined, similar in color to the shadows, but then her long tail whips and I glimpse the only parts of her that stand out, her eyes, as green as the paddle shaped plants surrounding us, and her nose pink as the tip of the sunset. So here the narrator is saying that I am not sure what I thought I would see. Some sunlight falls in some small patches on the muddy floor of the enclosure where the Vira was kept, but most of it is dark. Vira is difficult to notice. At first, she is smaller than she expected, and her color blends with the shadows around her. Then her long tail moves quickly, and I notices the parts of her that they're easy to see. Her eyes, which are big, bright green, like the nearby plants, and her nose, which is pink, like the tip of the sky during the sunset. Paragraph number 11 says that Mila unlocks the cage, beckoning me over. When I don't move, she smiles. A real life Vira has materialized the doorway. Don't make any sudden movements, Mila says, clipping a rope onto Vira's collar. I stay very, very still, transfixed by her bristling tail, the tense snake of her spine, her low growl. A pause, then she's away, erupting from the cage. So, as soon as Mila opens the enclosure and signals her, her to come closer, and when she hesitates, Mila smiles, to encourage her. So the real Vira was now standing in the doorway, and Mila gave the instruction that do not move very quickly. This was basically a sort of warning, as she was attaching a rope to the Vira's collar. So the narrator, Laura, froze, completely focused on her tensed body, her stiff tail, the curve of her back, the Vira, the puma, and the low sound that she was able to make. There was a very brief moment of stillness, and then she suddenly balls, rushing out of the enclosures. Enclosure, not enclosures. Okay, last two paragraph, paragraph number 12. Come, Mila grabs my hand. We go in front to protect her. Protect her? Vira turns, shooting me a look of disgust. There's a tension on the rope. She's reached as far as she can get. Her growl has got louder, an engine deep in her belly. It was an illusion before her size, thinking she wasn't big. I realized she hadn't looked small in the cage. She would looked squashed. Now outside, she's has expanded. Princess Vira. Go, repeats Mila. One moment, I'm thinking, no way. The next, we are all running. I am running. I have never run like this. Is she chasing us? I pant. No, says Mila. She just wants to run. Some fear, the top layer blows away. So, the narrator was given a command to come by the miller as soon as she grabbed her hand. We walk in front to keep her safe. Keep her safe. Vaira turns and gives her them a look that seems full of anger. The rope was tied. She couldn't move any farther. Her growl has grown louder, sounding just like an engine inside her. And the narrator realized that she had been mistaken about her size. She did not look small in the she did not look small in the enclosure. She had just looked cramped. Now outside, she appears much larger and more impressive, and narrator thinks of her as the princess. Go, Mila says again. For a moment, Laura thinks that there is no way I she could do that. Then suddenly we all were running. Laura was running as well. She has never has an opportunity in her life to run like this before. So while running, she asked question from the miller that if the Vaira is following us, and she got a reply like, no, she just want us to run. So this is what the text says. Now move on to the question number two. Question number two is basically for the use of language. But before moving to the question number two, as we have just read the whole entire text, so I guess we should first answer this question. So for this question, we are basically allowed to take help from the whole entire text. Like we are supposed to give three particular sort of feelings of the author anywhere and along with the evidences. The only thing that you need to be a bit vigilant that if in case one particular sort of feeling has already been mentioned in the question before, like this one, uh, question number one, part G. Over here, we have already talked about the frightened and we have given the evidences of it. So we should not repeat the feeling of being afraid over here again, right? So there are a few areas which I had encountered from the text, and they are number one, backpacking was meant to give me the perspective I needed after quitting my job. So here, the impression or the feeling about the narrator that we have that she was uncertain, she had no idea what to do with her, right? So let's write the answer side by side. Uh, So we can say over here like this that she was uncertain because she lacked the purpose. So the feeling that we have mentioned is that she was uncertain and she lacked the purpose is the evidence which we had discussed over here. And the other format that we can do is to copy the same exact text which is going to utilize as an evidence, and you can say that this is evident in this text, or you can say that she was uncertain, which is evident when she mentioned she was uncertain, and this uncertainty is And this uncertainty is evident when she mentions or when the text mentions about, and furthermore, you can live the same exact text. So, in both of the ways, the answer is very acceptable. Then, if we go back to the text, I plan to return to transformed, a person who makes me good decision and knows what she wants to do with her life. I picked up a leaflet for the sanctuary with a cheerful looking monkey on it. I said they took volunteers. It said they took volunteers for no reasons other than a desperate lack of purpose. Again, I am here. I don't know anything about the place, just that there are monkeys and they are supposed to look cheerful. This is giving us an understanding that she came here unprepared, right? So the feeling is unprepared and the evidence is right there. In the same way, you can pick up the third evidence and the feeling from the text. The format of the answer must remain same. So, moving on to the next part of the reading component, that is use of language, question number 2. So, question number 2, part A, over here. In this question number 2, we would be assessed on the basis of the use of language, and the two skills that we have to work are effect and impression. So, impression is basically an internal feeling, and effect is the outcome of that particular internal feeling. For example, if you're happy, so this is what your impression is. And if you're smiling, so that means you're smiling because you're happy. So happy is impression and smile is effect. This is how we are supposed to deal it. As far as the structure for the questions are discussed for this part, usually we had been given few chunks from the original text and we are supposed to answer with reference to the given text here. So, question number 2A says that read the extract from the text. I would probably feel more sad about this if there wasn't one huge question pounding my brain. I whisper to it, Mila, who doesn't answer at first. Maybe she faintly says. What does the writer want to suggest about the reader? Sorry, what does the writer want to suggest to the reader about Mila and Laura are about to do? So this is technically taken from the last part of the question. Sorry, not the question, the text here. Particularly when they were about to take out Vaira of take Vaira out of their cage for an open walk, right? So, as they were taking Vaira for a walk, so that means the author was not expecting, because author, the narrator herself has no particular experience of dealing with these sort of animals. So the clue that has been mentioned over here in the question, there wasn't one huge question. There wasn't one huge question pounding my brain. And then the text, maybe. So, the thing that the writer or the narrator wants to tell the reader is that they were about to do something uncertain, something risky, or something dangerous. This is a one marker question, so we can answer, we can compose our answer accordingly. They are about to do something uncertain, which Mila, hesitant to confirm, right? So let's move on to the next question very quickly. Question number 2, part B. Explain why the writer uses the word each rather than both in the expression, but we each have to decide whether we think these animals are worth it. Line number 50 to 51. So for this, we need to go back to the text to look at line number 50 to 51. So here it is. But we each have to decide whether we think these animals worth it. So this is basically about from the scenario when they were asking if the animal is supposed to be sent back. So the skill which is referred over here is basically the teamwork. So that means in the animal sanctuaries, nobody has the right, nobody has one particular sort of authority to send an animal back to the natural environment until unless or the whole entire team gets agree. So the purpose is we is emphasizing on the team. So we can compose our answer uh like because every person must make their own independent choice, not a joint one. So, reflecting to the teamwork scenario where nobody is bound to bow for one particular sort of decision. Each opinion has been catered. Each one's opinion has been catered and has some importance. Okay, moving on to the next question, question number two, part C. What two impression does the writer want to convey to the reader about the puma in the sentence? But then her huge long tail whips, and I glimpse the only parts of her that stand out, her eyes, as green as paddle shaped plants surrounding us, and her nose, pink as the tip of the sunset. Line number 53 to 55. Our focus is the impression, like what author want us to feel. And we have to give two impression, but her long tail whips and I glimpse. So here it's basically some sort of talking, the author is talking about the movement, right? And if we say, or if we goes her eyes, like if we go to the phrase, her eyes, as green as paddle shaped plants surrounding us. So that means that her eyes were very evidently visible even among the green plants. So we can say the puma seems striking and vivid, like she has a very clear presence, right? The puma seems striking and vivid. And if we go to the phrase where they are talking about the sunset, her nose pink as the tip of the sunset. So it's basically they are admiring the beauty. Plus, along with the beauty, the one thing which is expressed that it's a wild animal. So we can say that she appears both beautiful and wild. If in case for this sort of question you have given only one impression, so you will not be able to get 2 out of 2. And if your impression is wrong, so you may be given with the 0 mark. So you have to make sure that the impression which you are going to take out is going to be from the same exact text which has been mentioned. Now, moving on to the part D, read this sentence from the text. A real life Voira was materialized the doorway. Line number 57. What effect does the writer suggest about the Vaira by using the word materialize to describe the way she has moved? So over here, we are going to be assessed on the basis of vocabulary again. And the very important keyword is materialized. So here it is being suggesting some sort of suddenness or some sort of magic, right? So it suggests that she appears suddenly and silently. It's a 2 marker question, so that means we should give two ideas or two sort of explanation. So we can say that it suggests she appears suddenly and silently, uh, almost as if out of nowhere. So, usage of two words suddenly and silently is giving two particular sort of impressions. Lastly, the last part of our reading component, question number two, part A, over here, we are basically given a huge chunk from the original text, and we are required to talk about that how writer has uses the language effectively to describe something. So here the description that the examiner is looking for is about to describe the vira in this extract. So remember, the text that will be given to you may contain more than one example. Not may contain, most of the time it contain more than one example, right? So you just have to take out one example and you have to explain that from that reference how examiner or sorry, how the author has given a very vivid picture to describe Vira. This question is of 3 mark. 1 mark is to just to pick out the example from the given text, and 2 marks are for the explanation of the respective example that you have taken out. The thing that you need to note over here, that if in case the example which you take from the text is quite very appropriate, so your 1 mark is confirmed. But the explanation is not aligning with the example that you have taken out. So you will be awarded with the 0 marks of the explanation. So you will get 1 marks out of 3 only on the basis of the correct example. And if in case your explanation part is fine, it's making a very concise, accurate sense of understanding for one particular sort of thing, but the example that you have written wrong, so you will be getting -1 and you will be awarded on the basis of your explanation only. So this is how you are supposed to attempt the reading comprehension part. Now we are going to move towards the next part of our paper one, that is basically section B. And for section B, we have to consult text B. Text B is basically text B is basically about going at my own pace. So this section is of 25 marks and we are going to be assessed on the basis of summarizing. Remember, this time we don't have to summarize the whole entire text. We have to summarize a particular part of the text. So this is a selective summary. For the selective summary, we have to follow the four approach step. Number one, the step involves with the 4 steps. Number one, you need to read the question and understand what you actually need to summarize. So the question says that summarize the disadvantages of the fitness app according to text B. You must use continuous writing, not note form. Use your own words as far as possible. Avoid copying long sections of the text. Your summary should be no more than 150 words. So that means from the text, you are only supposed to talk about the disadvantages of the fitness app. There should be no mention about the advantages. This is supposed to be a continuous writing and you are required to use your own words as far as possible. This line which says that avoid copying long sections of the text. This means that if in case in the given text there is some sort of factual data or some sort of facts or figure, so that means for that you can copy the text, right? But not more than that. Then there is another question from the same question. So before proceeding to the short response question, let's discuss the remaining 3 steps for the summary writing that we are supposed to follow in order to achieve good marks in it. So the second step basically involves with reading the text and underlining the information, right? So far we have completed the first step. We have read the question. We have understood that we are supposed to summarize the disadvantages of the fitness app. Now we are going to follow the second step, which is to read the text and underline the information. That means that we are just going to quickly pick up all the disadvantages of the fitness app. So the text says that yesterday I met a former colleague who asked why I hadn't been riding my bike recently. I corrected her. I had actually been riding regularly as well as eating healthily and attending relaxation classes, both definite improvements and recommended by my personal trainer and new friend, Nat. To which she said, "Oh, I just haven't seen you on the fitness app." I don't use that fitness app anymore. I confirmed. She looked shocked. So, this means that this text is about a fitness app. The fitness app where you can post your data about your particular sort of achievement or any sort of workout that you had been doing. So, from this particular sort of paragraph, we did not encounter any any disadvantages or single disadvantage. It's just an introduction where both of the characters are mingling and having a normal conversation. Okay, moving on. Though, no doubt, teenagers have already moved on, the fitness app she was talking about is still popular among the people of my age. It records your rides and runs like a GPS device, telling you where you have been and how far you have gone. I downloaded the free version of the app to my smartphone last year and was soon paying the significant monthly subscription to upgrade the full service. So, the first disadvantage that we have encountered, significant monthly subscription to upgrade the full service, which means that as soon as you are going to install the app, so installing the app is very free. There is a free version that you can use, but as soon as you started to use the free version, and in move forward, so in order to unlock the further features of the app, you have to pay, you have to get the subscription. That means it's a disadvantage that you have to pay to use something. Okay, further it says the app collects your kilometers per hour, which is a good point, route, distance, and elevation. It also shares this information with the other users via social media, whether you want or not. You can see who else has completed the same route, compare your workout to theirs, and leave component. So, the phrase whether you want it or not. This means that if you are using the app, so you have no privacy. Your data, your record of any workout will directly be uploaded on the app. It is going to share your personal information, either with your consent or without your consent. Okay, moving on. Initially, I was addicted to the app, using it all the time. Whenever I went for a ride, I would take my phone with me to upload my achievements for the others to see, proof that I had actually ridden. I felt unnecessarily competitive when other riders just had higher ride total each month and discouraged when they had ridden faster. Soon, the enjoyment of just riding the for the sake of riding faded. So over here, basically, the idea that is expressed is the peer pressure and competition, right? Unnecessarily competitive, that the app is very unnecessarily competitive. Like, for example, if you have run for 10 kilometers and the other person has run for 11 kilometers, so now you will feel like, oh, I should run for the 12 kilometers. So this is a very unnecessary competition. The workout should be done according to the requirement of your health and your well-being. Moving on, the effect wasn't all negative. Often it was helpful, encouraging me to get out and ride. The app breaks popular courses into segments, recording each rider's best time to each segment. That's where the competition creeps in, though. The fastest athlete on the segment is named champion. This mentality made me feel as though if I rode, I had to ride fast. One thing that we have missed, addictive. Yes, sorry. I was addicted to the app. This is also a disadvantage, not only for this app, most of the apps which we are using in our phones or in our laptops or in our tablets. Once we become too used to of it, we develop some sort of addiction. Okay, so in this paragraph, they are talking about both of the aspect, like the whole entire thing has not been negative somehow. When you started to work out, when you started to go to the gym, and sometimes it happens that you are not in mood to go for the workout, but the pressure the app is containing is a good, that it will uh, internally encourage you to do something or not to break the record of your workout. So the good point is that if you have been a very fastest athlete, so you will receive a trophy champion. So the ending this mentality made me feel though if I write, I had to write fast. Again, it's talking about the peer pressure, which is a disadvantage. Okay, so next paragraph. I felt overwhelming peer pressure to put everything on the app. True. I write a blog about cycling, but any stuff I don't like sharing doesn't get shared. The app puts your failures into numbers, and when someone made mean comments about my statistic, I would sulk for days. Wounded. You are too hard on yourself, Ned noted prospectively. Last time I was tempted to overtrain. Okay, so another explicit mention about the peer pressure to put everything on the app. And the last time is to overtrain, tempted to overtrain. Like for example, if you just had your workout for the day and you have lifted 50 kilogram of weight, or you have traveled to 20 kilometers, and then all of a sudden one of your colleague come and traveled a kilometer more than you, so you will be in the competition. Okay, I'm going to go back again and I'm going to travel more, right? So in this way, you are basically overtraining yourself. You're getting very harsh on you, on your own self. Okay, second last paragraph says that now I simply track my workouts with my sports watch, keeping records so I can check my history when I want to. It's a great to see improvement, I agree, but I don't need to see what everyone else is doing. So what everyone else is doing, that means the data that has been shared on the app is a sort of discouragement for the other people. True. Friends and colleagues have shown me some of the awesome rides and the runs that they have recorded on the app, and they are usually awesome, motivating even. But daily comparison would make me feel good about my own goals and efforts. Seeing another athlete's epic workout on the app, I think to myself, I could do that and run faster and further than I should. Sorry, Ned. Or worse, I will never do that. Not great for my mental health. That means that if you are using this sort of app, uh, any sort of this app, so it's a mental risk. You will be mentally stressed. It will put you in the state of stress. I don't want an app to run down my phone battery. Run down my phone battery. Another disadvantage that it's going to consume your phone battery while I am not exercising. I don't want to track an epic bike ride and not have the ability to call someone for the help or look for the direction. Call someone for help or look for the direction. Another disadvantage, like you just have to post your achievement. Like if you are traveling to somewhere and you are stuck or you have lost the way where you have been, so there will be no one to assist you. So, even though I agree that these little animated trophies you receive when you complete a challenge on the app are fun, I have removed it from my phone and now work at my own pace, asking Ned's advice whenever I need it. So far, this is how the second step is going to be completed. Have read the text and we have taken out the disadvantages. So now the third step starts, which is to organize the particular information that you have taken out. So the disadvantages we can put into few particular sort of categories. Number one, we have talked about the peer pressure, where we have discussed the users compared their results with the others. Users feel discouraged when the others perform better, and they feel pressured to write faster or overtrain. So all of these three things are aligning with the peer pressure. So that means in our summary, when we are going to start, so we can start first with the first idea, which is peer pressure, and in the umbrella of the peer pressure, we are going to talk about all these three ideas. Then there has been a lack of enjoyment. That is the second idea. Original fun of cycling is lost, and we also come to know that the riding becomes more about the proof. Like if in case you have write but you have not uploaded, so that means your write would not be considered. So in this way, you're going to align your information, and your third step will be completed, which is to organize your information. Remember, your summary must have three parts. Number one, introduction, where you're going to introduce the app and the context very briefly. This introduction should not be comprised upon the paragraphs or on so many sentences, because we also have to make sure that we are following the word limit, which is 150. So in order to write the introduction, we can simply talk about that the fitness apps, while popular, have several disadvantages. We don't need to refer back to the text. So if in case, if you are starting in a way, in the text B, the author is saying, or the author is talking about. So this sort of answers are not acceptable. For the summary, you don't need to refer back to the text. Your summary should look like that your reader has not read the original text. The reader is going to get the understanding only on the basis of what you're going to write. This is how the introduction is going to be done. Then your main body part is going to start, which where you are going to cover the disadvantages, right? So to continue, you can say such apps create peer pressure, uh, to compete with others, which can reduce enjoyment and causes stress. Constant comparison. Okay, let me just do a bit of setting to what I have typed. Okay, so I was writing the sentence that the constant comparison with fellow users, comparison with the other users, with fellow users may lead to feelings of discouragement, or you can say anxiety, and negative comments from, again, I need to do some sort of setting. Okay. Negative comments, uh, negative comments from the other users, from others, can further harm your health. And to continue, we can say that these apps also share your personal data. The usage of the word data would not be sufficient enough, appropriate. Statistic would be the more appropriate one. Statistic. Automatically, Usually the data have already been uploaded on the apps very automatically, because once you are installing the app, so you basically give the consent to app to access to the data. And once you have given the consent to access the data, so your data is uploaded very automatically. Okay. So person statistic automatically, and this is basically going to limitize your privacy. So we can say limiting privacy. And practical issues include, or not, if I'm just going to use the word practical issue or the phrase, so this means I'm going to refer back to the text. So I need to rephrase my sentence. So I can say that apps also drain battery and reduce safety, as users may not be able to use their phones for emergencies. So in this way, we have so far encountered all the particular sort of disadvantages which we have taken out from the text. So lastly, your summary should have the conclusion, which means that you need to mention that why the writer stopped using it for the context. So as your summary should not have any sort of reference to the text, so you can end your summary in a way that that is why few people do not like to use these sort of apps. So in this way, your summary is task is supposed to be completed. I have used a very concise sentence structure, and few particular points I have omitted by my will, because I want you to do your practice so you guys can add on the remaining ideas. Okay, so as far as the last skill for the summary writing is concerned is basically the paraphrasing, as you are not at all supposed to use the original word, or you are not at all allowed to use the longer or to extract the longer part of the text from the original one. So that means that you are going to work on the paraphrasing thing. So in order to paraphrase, you have to make sure that you are using your own words. So for example, if this from the sentence, from the text, let me give you a very quick example from the text, like how you're going to do the paraphrasing. Like, for example, at this part, okay, I felt unnecessarily competitive. I feel unnecessarily competitive when the others rider had higher rides total each month. So obviously you are not going to pick up the whole entire sentence. So you can rephrase it that the app made the user feel pressured and competitive against the others. So this is how you're going to paraphrase. Okay, so lastly, as far as few tips are concerned, so your summary should have some sort of proper linkage, a connection. So you can use the linking words like however, in addition, as a result, consequently, or if you're describing any particular sort of thing which are interconnected, so you can use the connectors for the numbers like firstly, secondly, thirdly. You need to avoid directly copying pasting the long phrases from the original text, and you need to focus on the general ideas rather than the examples. Your summary should not contain any other example, and your summary must be kept short and concise. So the summary writing task is basically of 20 mark. The last part of your paper is the short response question, which is basically the 5 marker question. And usually this question is reference to the summary. Here they will ask you, or they will replace the character of the given text with you, and you will be asked to take the position of the character, and there will be an interviewer question. You have to express your opinion. So the question says that imagine you are Nat, the writer's personal trainer, and you have been asked to question by someone who enjoys running and is interested in your own in your work. So give your answer to the runner's questions using information from the text. The runner question is that I'm thinking of getting a personal trainer, but some people says that it is a waste of money. So you have to explain your opinion and you have to provide your examples. This is a short response question which is of 5 marker. So technically that means कि you can just take out few particular points and you have to develop it. So the ideas that you can use over here with reference to the text are, for example, number one, uh, personal trainers or the trainer can uh, become your good friend, like the way in the text we have encountered the relation of the person has the narrator has developed with the friend, the trainer. The beginning of the text, it says it has been explicitly mentioned, my friend Ned, my new friend Ned. So that means if you're hiring someone as a personal trainer, so the person can become your friend. Then this opinion is supposed to be developed. So you can add your explanation that they can get to know that what are the requirement of the clients, as usually the trainers are very well aware with all of your weaknesses, so they can give you the personal advice by looking into it, just like the doctors, like if you have some sort of allergy and your doctor is well aware, so the doctor will prescribe the relevant diet or the things that you need to be very very well careful to avoid this sort of allergy. And another example that you can say is the same one, the explanation that I have mentioned. Uh, recommend Recommends relaxation or healthy eating or good diet, right? And in order to develop it, you can say that it's hiring the personal trainer is not about going to improve running or going to improve the whole entire physique of your body. The trainer will also give you the particular ways which you are going to follow to maintain the consistency. Or the idea that you can use from the text is basically the perspective, like uh, in the text, they talk about the idea of being overtrained. So usually, if you have your personal trainer in your gym, right? So they will stop you if you are getting overtrained, right? So you can add on mm, alert to when you are doing something wrong. Like there will be a person accompanying you when you're doing something wrong or you're getting very hard on yourself or you are overtraining yourself. So with each and every idea, you're supposed to do some sort of proper development. So minimum ideas which are supposed to be taken from the text are one or maximum are three. So far, the recommendations remain same, that you can give three opinions. In order to get good marks or to score full marks, you have to give your best. So give three opinions and develop it according to what you are going to state. So in this way, your paper for the October-November series can be attempted. So the remaining parts which has been left, you guys can attempt it by your via your practice, and you can share your feedback by the in the comment box of this video.